Hey guys, this is Adam Amble from the A to G Show 2.0, about to start in about 1 minute. We got some golf from Sunday. Jordan versus Isaiah talk, some interesting takes on the QB race at Michigan. TV ratings are soaring for sports, and of course some BSO. So hang with us and join in the fun tonight. And welcome to the A to G Show 2.0. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to episode 9 of the A to G Show 2.0. I am Adam Amble, coming to you live from beautiful Castle Rock, Colorado. Another gorgeous day out there. Nice Tuesday evening. Hope everyone enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully the flooding has subsided. I know there's some struggles still in mid-Michigan, but I heard the weather was pretty decent for this weekend. But joining me tonight to talk a little bit about that, filling in again for G-Man tonight, is Scott Ulibarri, live from Pleasant Lake or White Lake, Michigan. Scotty, how you doing? Thanks for joining in again tonight, man.
Good, yeah. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Well, we got some great topics tonight, and don't forget, everyone, that make sure to head on over to the M Factor channel over there on YouTube and subscribe. We really appreciate it. There's a link in the description, so click on that, leave us a like, and of course, if you missed the show tonight or just want to watch it again, that'll be posted on the M Factor page later tomorrow. Higher quality, better resolution, better sound other than this live, but we really enjoy this. Hit that little subscribe button so you never miss the new content coming in from the M Factor. So now this is intended to be a interactive show, so don't be bashful. Join in the conversations in the chat window over there on Facebook. We'll do our best to read your comments live, and if there's a topic you'd like to discuss, just let us know and we'll try to get to it. The good news of the week is sports continue to trickle back. We had a little golf tournament, which we'll get to here in a second with Scotty. We had some NASCARs continuing to flow. Those are actually great races. I've been really enjoying that. Unfortunately, the last dance is over, but let's hop right into the topics of this evening, and that is first and foremost that there was a great golf a little golf match going on Sunday. The rain tried to do its part. Mother Nature tried to do its part, but luckily, when in times like these, you just fight through it. Considering it's not anything crazy, it's not points. It's just a little friendly celebrity match, basically. Scotty, what do you call those, Scotty?
Getting creative in times of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing alternate shot, just a friendly match. So
did you tune in at all, or were you out on the boat, buddy?
We were out on your
boat. Right. Well, I'm glad you were enjoying the nice weather. That's what the point of the weekend is, right? But for those who didn't want to chance it, I guess they stayed in. I know we didn't watch a ton of it. Got to watch a lot of the highlights, a lot of what people were saying. And again, you got 4 of probably the fiercest competitors in all of sports or on the planet, right? Just kind of go at it, especially in golf. I feel Tiger Woods kind of had the advantage, so Peyton probably had the advantage. Who were you rooting for, Scotty?
Oh, Peyton and Tiger, 100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I bet that wasn't even a question for you when they named the teams. But I thought it was really entertaining. I liked the fact that there was a lot for charity on that. I know at one point Russell Wilson, I think he was gonna donate 100,000 the meals or whatever, 100,000 for each on one of the par threes for each of if they landed on the green, and actually 3 out of 4 of them landed on the green. And I want to say it was actually Phil that didn't land on the green. So Peyton, Tom, and Tiger were the only ones that landed on the green. Thanks, everyone, for joining in tonight. I see some good viewers out there. Don't forget to leave your comments, say hello. We'll get right into the topics. First topic here is, of course, the the match over the weekend, the golf match that again Mother Nature tried to take down, but. You think I was told, Scotty, and maybe you might know a little more on this if you heard of anything, that they might go back to like Phil's home course, because apparently this was Tiger's home course, and of course after the match, of course since Tiger won, of course it was home course advantage. Have you heard anything on if that's confirmed, or were they just kind of messing around? I would assume just trash talking. The trash talk was epic on this, so.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and I heard basically the same rumor you did. I imagine though that as popular as this is and as much viewership as they're getting, that this will carry on. I could see this being a more longer term thing, and it also goes to show that you can play golf in all this, and they can figure out a way to do the normal tour. But these are neat because not only is there the camaraderie and the banter, but one of the things that I really like about when watching the highlights and seeing all the response was how creative they got with it, with the earpieces that all the players had, and Barkley doing commentary, and who was it? Bryce Kopka talking.
Well, Samuel L. Jackson did like the intro for Tom Brady. I believe that was kind of cool. I did enjoy how they put like the loudspeaker right behind them, so they're actually hearing from the studios, like kind of a pump up thing. But just I really enjoyed before the match of like great trash talk. And there was at one point when they were asking Peyton Manning about who he should or who else he should have brought to caddy. He's like, well, I know Tom. It's going to be tough to beat Tom in this. He kind of has my number, but maybe I should have brought like Eli Manning or he's like, I should have brought Eli or maybe how about Nick Foles to come caddy for him so he gets a little umbrage. I thought that was great. And of course, Tom's like, oh, that's below the belt. That's below the belt. Not a ton of trash talking from the two golfers, right? Because I guess it's their sport. They probably, again, these guys are fierce competitors, so they're not going to – it could be exhibition against their grandmother, right? They're going to take it seriously. They look like they were having fun, but they're going to take it seriously and try to win, of course. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. And especially those two, there's so much history and so much rivalry between the two of them that they both want to win this. They can probably play a little looser, being that there's no real money on the line for them. But they still want to beat the tar out of each other.
Sure. That's that was obvious. And again, you get these types of competitors out there. Of course, that's what's going to happen. Mom says the conversation between them was very interesting. Hi, Mom. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everything's safe out there. But yeah, the conversation, and like I said, I thought the conversations before the match were solid. But yeah, I really liked it. Like you were saying, Scotty, I really like how they mic'd them up. You could hear everything they were saying. Definitely really friendly. And this you do bring up another good point of this kind of just goes to show you that you can play golf during this. It was crappy weather, but it was still competitive. Obviously Tom and they all had their fair share of crappy shots, of course, but they do that anyway. On any given weekend, you get a lot of crappy shots here or there out of any certain player, especially if you got the shanks, right? So honestly, this was something that hopefully it leads forward and basically says, all right, PGA, you know what? Without the fans, you can do the exact same thing. Start miking up every tee box. You got shotgun mics that you can put out there on the greens so you can hear things. And then, of course, have the announcers just exactly like they did. So I don't see any reason why the PGA can't fire back up here soon. The players can socially I thought they got I wasn't, out of the clips that I've seen, they weren't practicing their social distance that great, especially at the end, right? When I don't know if you saw that, Scotty, where they did the like awkward kind of forearm bumps and like the air fist bumps. That was a little different, but other than that, I thought it was I thought it was great, and it just goes to show you. Of course, my mom, Tom had the best shot. I would agree. I don't know if Scotty would agree with that. Of course, mom's going to say that, but he definitely did. I mean, that was a great shot, especially when in the pouring rain. So I'm not going to argue with that. But just the fact that it goes to show you that. What's that? I'm sorry, buddy.
I was gonna say it just with them getting creative. I went watching some of the highlights and stuff. All the cameras that they had around show you can really limit the people there and still have something that you can make a quality production out of. They didn't even need those cameramen because they had so many cameras everywhere.
Yeah, and again, they're not worried about the fans. You don't have to hire. I mean, think about it, you wouldn't have to hire as much security, concessions. You might be able to
Yeah,
make much more money off these things than you would if if the TV ratings can. We'll get into that a little bit, but the TV ratings on these events, we mentioned it time and time again, Scotty. The first sports back are what's going to gobble up all the ratings and gobble up all the even on a holiday weekend. It was one of the highest rated golfing single day, we'll say, in golf history, and it was crappy. It was raining. I mean, I would think that most of the message. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone that's watching the actual viewership, how it rated with like the final day of the Masters. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. Do you happen to know that, Scotty?
I wasn't able to look that up, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just I'm just
And the other thing too is whatever I bet you the ratings were real high in places that didn't have exceptional weather over the weekend.
yeah, exactly, because there was no, now obviously you're not going to travel long distances to fly. Travel was down majorly this last weekend for Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend. But I was glad that you guys had some good weather anyway. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
We the girlfriend and I went out to Lake McConaughey with some of all of our friends. Right, we Danelle and Nick. So appreciate them having us out there. It was a good time. But the weather out there wasn't that great, and the weather looked like it wasn't that great for that golf outing. So I was glad you guys got some good
Yeah.
weather. But other than that, well, thanks for joining us, everyone, again on the A to G Show 2.0. Scott Ulibarri sitting in for Garrett Collier again. Appreciate it, Scotty. Let's move into the second topic of the night. And I don't know if you heard this, Scotty. I don't know if you got to listen to any of the news sources this morning, but the rumor has it there's some audio basically saying, I'm not going to play on the dream team if Isaiah is on the squad. We got Stockton, we got Magic. What do we need another guard for? Agree or disagree?
Uh, you know, as much as they disliked each other, it doesn't really surprise me. And really, it wouldn't surprise me if about two-thirds or three-quarters of that team came out and said basically the same thing. Because I don't think anyone liked Isaiah. I know Bird and him had some major disagreements, and Magic and Isaiah had a big falling out after Magic's HIV positive test, and I know Scottie Pippen didn't like him. So and even I was reading a little blurb today that the coach Daly said that Daly,
Yeah, Chuck
right?
Daly. Yeah, yep.
Chuck Daly, yeah. He said or there was speculation that he didn't want him either because he would have had to already a tough situation
Yeah,
with
kind of
controlling all
player
those
preference,
personalities,
right?
to have another huge personality there that didn't get along with anyone, that they didn't get along with each other. So it would have been a much more difficult coaching position for
Yeah,
him.
that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. Not many people have brought that up actually, to where it was, Chuck Daly would have been, it would have been terrible for Daly because here you got your star point guard, right? Basically led you to two straight championships
Yeah.
at that point. And then you basically, I wonder, I'm curious, they didn't show a lot of it in the documentary, but how like Jordan and the rest of the guys thought about Chuck Daly, thought about the coach. I mean, let's face it, he was the coach for the Bad Boys, so obviously he was kind of directing
Yeah.
them. I know a lot of the players around the league thought all the Bad Boys were just a bunch of thugs, and didn't like how they played the game of basketball. And that was kind of interesting because they really didn't bring up what about the actual the general himself, the coach, right? They didn't say
Right.
anything about that.
Yeah. And I was kind of in looking up some history on this today. I didn't realize the other coaches that were potential, because Chuck Daly wasn't even a shoe-in for the job. I think Pat Riley was one of them, as was I don't remember the other coach's name, but there's some big names out there, and for Chuck Daly to get it was not completely expected. So I think he kind of probably had to toe the line a little bit. But then also, you look at it, at that point, they wanted the NBA to go international, and they had to have Jordan at all costs. So it didn't really matter.
Well, let's face
You know,
it, for these guys, One thing that I was kind of thinking about, and I've heard a little bit of it too. These guys, when they went to the games over there in Barcelona, there wasn't going to be any competitive. There was one that was semi-competitive, you'd say, but other than that, these guys were going over there. It was like a vacation, right? And for a fact, that even when you get 4 guys together, 3 guys together, there's always going to be that odd man out. You want the good company, right? You want the good company with you.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, like you mentioned it just before, that there's most of the guys in the league, or most of the guys on that squad on the dream team, regardless of what they said about Chuck Daly, but they didn't want Isaiah there. He just wasn't. Maybe he's just not a very likable guy. He's not a dude you want to hang out with. Let's say you have like you head out to the bar or something like that. Maybe you just don't you just don't care much for the guy. So regardless if he was a really good player, let us know your guys' opinion too on that. Thanks everyone for joining. But regardless, just because he was a great player and performance wise, definitely deserved to be on the team. Probably one of the most underrated point guards of all time in the NBA. But if he were to, maybe he just wasn't a likable guy. And then you had the 3 major stars of Bird, Magic, and Michael, obviously Michael being the biggest at that time, but you still had 2 historically important players, Bird and Magic, 2 of them together basically brought the NBA back in the early 80s, right? Late 70s, early 80s. And then you got Michael taking it internationally, the NBA internationally. And yeah, definitely you had to have Jordan. But again, maybe what do you think about them just not liking him as a person, not really caring about how good a player he was, but what type of guy he was, and basically was like, you know what, we just don't care much to hang out with him. We don't want to go to the bars. We're not going to play golf with Isaiah. What do you think about that theory there, Scotty?
Yeah, in the couple articles I read, that seemed to be a common theme, that everyone just thought he was an a-hole. And so, I mean, and it's one of those things. He's super competitive. He's very, very good. And it's part of his personality that made him so good. But in this case, it also hurt him when you're sort of getting picked for a team. That stuff does matter. And, and that's another thing that you hit on, that they were going over there. They said it was like a summer camp. And so he would have been, I think, in many respects, just that kind of outsider that they didn't want around, that would have just kind of he would have been a kind of a wet blanket, I think, compared to the rest of them.
Exactly right. And I can see that, right? If you are labeled, my only issue with that is they probably didn't give him a chance because of how he was on the court, right? A lot of guys, like I'm pretty sure like Magic liked Isaiah before, and then after, obviously all these years later, they kind of had a coming together again. But all these years before that, hey, all those years before that, before all the bad boy stuff, they were fine, right? They were fine. But then once you get on the court, and they were winning, right? They were just winning with a different style basketball. That's what I think really, really upset everyone. Obviously, his little Isaiah's antics, and the whole Pistons antics of walking off the court, in 92 or 91. And, walking off the court to the Bulls. I think that really solidified kind of like his legacy of, okay, he was a jerk maybe on the court, but off the court, I mean, you've seen interviews, Scotty. What do you think about him? You find him very, dislikable or whatnot?
I think he's pretty affable, in fact. And again, on the court, there's so many guys like this that are totally different on the field, on the court, or whatever, than off. And so I just in the little bit of I've seen with him, he seems fine. I like hearing him talk. He has a good opinion, and I don't recall, how was he as a coach?
I didn't hear of any controversies really. It's not like kids would be like, oh, he's just a jerk. He's terrible to play for. Like Bobby Knight, who was just a jerk and people disliked playing for him, but he was a great coach. That I never heard of. We got a couple. Arden Stebby, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for watching. Allison Elbow, do you think it would have changed anything if Isaiah was on the team, like for the negative? No, I just think they were too good. It's a good question. I just think they were too good. They were just too stacked. Like we said, it wasn't real. They were not going to have any big games over there in Barcelona. You're talking, I mean, you could have taken the second tier dream team and it probably wouldn't even have been a problem. Heck, we used to take like second tier, like college players to the Olympics, right? But you're talking, I mean, think about all the historic players you got on that squad. You could have taken our bench and we could have rolled over anyone anyway. But I think what you're asking, Allison, is probably what was the chemistry would have been like. But these guys, again, it wouldn't have mattered if he was just toxic. Chuck Daly probably could have controlled him a little bit, right? And it wouldn't have mattered if he was toxic or not, simply because those guys are just going to play through it because there were so many of them that were just fantastic. So they're all Hall of Famers, right? Besides Leitner, right?
Right. And I mean, even take like some of the best all-star teams. That team is one of the best teams ever assembled in the history of the game, if not.
Oh, it had to be the best, right, Scotty? I mean, you can't think of any because you got the whole league, right? If you were going to talk all-star game or all-star teams, then what are you going to do? Because you got both sides divided, right? In the East.
Well, look at that team.
I mean,
Christian Leitner is probably going to be the only one on that entire dream team that
that's
didn't
what I'm
make the
saying.
Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying. And I really think, I mean, think about just for that team, Scotty. Think about just for that team. If you were to divide them up East and West, think about, you would add Bird and Jordan in the East. You would add Magic. You would add Karl Malone, John Stockton, Chris Mullins, Clyde the Glide, Hakeem Olajuwon. All those guys in the West. Just absolutely, what a team! I mean, what a great team. Yeah. I don't think it's any comparison on who the greatest team would have been. There's a reason it was called the Dream Team. The Dream Team 2 was decent too, but not like that. I mean, we're talking again 3 symbolic players on that one team. You know, symbolic players in the history of the NBA were on that squad. So just fantastic. But let's move on to topic number 3. Again, thanks for joining everyone on the A to G Show 2.0. Adam Amble here from Castle Rock, Colorado. We got Scott Ulibarri sitting in for a internetless Garrett Collier again. I guess he's still waiting on that internet. I can understand the service providers probably taking a little slow getting out service texts, so no big deal, but appreciate you sitting in, Scotty. Let's move into topic number 3. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Don't forget you leave your comments on the left side there in the old chat while you're watching. Really appreciate it. Let's move on to topic number 3, though, and that is there's some hot takes. You probably haven't seen this, Scotty. Again, poor Scotty. Scotty is a solid Michigan fan, and maybe you've seen it, maybe follow some things on Twitter, but the poor guy, didn't grow up loving Michigan like most of us did, but still got to give him props. Got to give you props, Scotty, for hanging with us and obviously coming out to Michigan. I know you really enjoy it. So there was some hot takes from local sports reporters of whoever wins that. You kind of discussed it last week on whoever wins that starting job for Michigan is a major dark horse to win the Heisman, if not become a Heisman finalist. Pardon me, if not win the Heisman. Now this is quite a hot take. I'm not sure I'm buying this yet. I know you like McCaffrey. I like McCaffrey. I just don't know Milton McCaffrey. There's too many unknowns, but something is going on here to where they're getting a lot of buzz. And I'm sorry, but I just can't see the probably the biggest bet to be the number 1 pick in Trevor Lawrence not winning the Heisman this year, barring an injury. What do you think, Scotty? Yeah. What's your take on it?
Pretty much the same thing. That dark horse, when I read the article, it was kind of based on betting, where it's a 75-1 odds, which is definitely a long shot. Where you look at Tyler Lawrence and
Trevor
Lawrence, yeah, and he's like 7-2. So it's big,
it is,
big
yeah,
spread.
Yeah.
I am optimistic that they'll, one of the two of them or whoever makes it will have a good season. Heisman at this point, I think that's a stretch. I mean, obviously the guy that made the bet, it'll pay off handsomely for him if it does happen. But I think it's a combination of just something fun to talk about, something to interject into the conversation when we don't have much to go on. And the other problem is no one knows who's going to be the starter because they can't compete.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of like, how do you even know this? First of all, you're putting one of those two guys in you said what, 75-1, Scotty? So 75 to 1, you're telling me that there's 75 to 1 odds. That kind of puts them in the top 75 even to win the Heisman. I don't know, especially when you're not even named, like I said, you're not even named they haven't even named a starter yet. So one thing this tells me is either these two guys are that equal to where you can just flip-flop them, right? You can replace one, and the other guy's going to be in the exact same spot, which does make it difficult. Now, I do wish both of them were at the, kind of what Harbaugh was always touted as being a quarterback coach, and we haven't really seen that yet, besides with maybe Jake Rudock, the exception of Jake Rudock in Harbaugh's first season. But what I really want, I really wish that both of those guys were, 50 to 1. You got these two groups of guys, or these two guys that basically are fighting, duking it out for. Well, they're not doing anything right now, right? This is all hearsay. This is all how their off-season workouts separately are going right now. So I'll be curious to see once they're able to, if. Of course, I'm not sure if you saw this about how the Michigan AD, of course, Michigan president is, of course, dragging their feet along of stating if they're going to bring back students, in the fall. We're not sure if Michigan's going to have a football season. That would be detrimental. There was a post I tweeted out today, though, that was pretty good about, I think, it wasn't Joel Klatt. It was Clay Travis. On how, hey, guess what? If Michigan doesn't take the field this fall, at least they can stop their losing streak to Ohio State, right? So kind of a bash, sad but true. I said sad but true.
Yeah,
that's he's not lying. So what a shame. But I just think that back to it, we'll know a lot more, and they will. They'll get back on the field. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Especially as we see this warmer weather really take things down, which is fantastic. The SEC is pretty much already guaranteeing that they'll probably even have fans in the stands. Ohio State basically said, even Ohio State said, we're aiming right now, and that's right now. We'll have much more data in a couple months here about 20% of the stadium, and 20,000 people, that's nothing to shake your head at, but that's what Michigan State gets to play in front of every Saturday, so no big deal there. But what do you think? So what are your thoughts on how are they judging this metric though, Scotty? There's no way to really see these two guys. Are they just going off past the past two seasons on why these two guys are grouped together so tightly, and it could be either one and they'll be a dark horse for the Heisman, both at 75 to 1. Okay, that seems really weird. You'd think you'd at least have, McCaffrey with his skill, at 75 to 1, then Milton either at 70 to 1 or 80 to 1, just kind of slightly different. That's just kind of crazy to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's a story to get people talking, that the sports writer that has nothing else to write about is doing, but it makes for good conversation. It's interesting. I didn't really see how he justified it. It was just kind of a lot of conjecture and just basing it not on a lot of anything, because there's really not much to judge it off of this season notwithstanding. But so much has to go right for either of these to happen. So if McCaffrey gets it, he's going to have to stay healthy. If Milton gets a starting job, he's going to have to be accurate. And then the one thing that you always have to account for is the Michigan receivers dropped a ton of balls last year.
Yeah. More, we'll say more than normal, right? More than especially when they were touted. That was really what was frustrating, was the fact that they were supposed to be one of the best receiving corps in the nation. And they end up with obviously the one big drop right against Penn State there. That was tragic, but other than that, it would have been, that would have been a great season and would have had maybe a little more momentum going into Ohio State. Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't have, but it would have gave us a little bit more of a momentous edge, right? But the fact of the matter is, I just don't know. You're right. These guys, these sports reporters, these sports writers are just really they're searching for something, right? But I kind of wish that they would go back to, okay, let's start talking about actually firing up the sports things, right? Because a lot of them, of course, aren't going to push that narrative. That's not the narrative that they're supposed to report on from their respected or maybe lack thereof, news company. But there just seems to be that I mean, 75-1 is still pretty solid for me. Like I said, 75. You're ranking two guys that haven't really been the go-to guy yet. You're ranking them in the top 75 in the country. I mean, there's a lot of good players out there that have proven themselves already. I just think it's kind of nice. And of course, these were a lot of local sports reporters. So it's not like, they're talking about this nationwide, and not that I've heard of anyway, but that's what.
And actually,
what's that, buddy?
Go ahead. I was gonna say, and actually, it's not that they're in the top 75. They're better than that, because if you look at all.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
They're not.
Yeah, it's not one. It's not 1 to 2, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, right?
Yeah, and it starts dropping off pretty quick after that. But they're probably, I think, based on that, if I remember correctly, probably top 25, top 30 based on.
Well, even better, right? It's still just mesmerizing that they're even that. I was kind of going just worst case scenario, right? If you were to just go 1 through 75 and say, okay, the 75th ranked person we think is 75-1 to win the Heisman. So thanks again, everyone, for joining in. I'm Adam Amble with Scott Uleberry, sitting in for Garrett Collier tonight. Appreciate you stopping by, giving us some of your time. Thanks for some of the comments. Just leave them over there on the Facebook chat. We'll try to get to them if you want to talk about something. Already got a couple great questions, but as that weather starts to get a little bit, is it still light out there, Scotty?
No, it's I can see a little hint of light still, but it's
about
pretty much
9:30 out there in Michigan, right? So
yep.
Hopefully we're in the cusp, or we're in the start of the nice weather here across the nation, right? That's what really matters. Start driving down, getting people outside, getting some of that vitamin D, right? So.
Yep.
So let's move on to topic number 4, and this kind of goes back to the golf thing that we were discussing earlier, the golf outing. We're talking NASCAR just killing it. Even the Korean Baseball League killing it in terms of rating. I mean, they're televising the Korean Baseball League, for crying out loud, and it gets better ratings than some of than most of the MLB regular season games. Pardon me, not ratings, but viewers, right? Viewership is really up there. You got the UFC getting astronomical viewership. You're getting certain, like I said, the need to watch sports in this country is just fantastic. I totally understand. I'm the same way. I love it. I've been watching even some of the NASCAR, the lesser series. NASCAR, the trucks, the Xfinity races. So this is something that kind of I was wanting to ask. As time goes on, of course, going to sporting events, there's certain sporting events that really going to takes the cake, right? Like a NASCAR event, a race is something. If you go to it, there's certain sports that are just not that enjoyable to watch on TV unless you really you're really a fan of someone, or you're really a fan of a team. Even NBA basketball kind of started to drop except for the playoffs. You got golf, which is just dismal to watch except for the Masters or any majors. You got NASCAR, which I think viewership on TV is kind of going up over the past couple of years, but viewership at the track has kind of went down. Now, you got these sports coming back, and like we mentioned actually every episode since UFC, even the week before on the A to G Show 2.0 here. Here's the thing, the first sports back are going to chew up all these ratings, and I think it's really helping them. I mean, you got to think, you think people are going to catch on to like the NASCAR, because what happens is, like, NASCAR gets to be these sporting events. Sports are kind of cool too because they turn into a soap opera, right, Scotty? So they turn into kind of like this little soap opera to where you follow a team or a driver or a player throughout the season, and there's some drama here or there. There's some drama, there's some excitement with that person, so you really want to try to follow them. Now, with this viewership so high with NASCAR, You think people will start to kind of, I'm not going to say fall in love, but become really interested in certain drivers and certain dramas that happen on the track? I wish there was a little more that maybe NASCAR could even stage, for crying out loud, to make it better TV, right? Because they always got to, whenever there's drama, there's always a little bit better viewership the following week or the following race. Simply because they want to see what happens, right? That, of course, that's must-see TV when you get all that drama. So what do you think? You think if NASCAR can hold on, that they keep these solid ratings? It probably won't be at the track, but on TV when it's because there's really nothing on right now. Even when NASCAR just kind of goes through the regular schedule of Saturday, Sunday races instead of these kind of like throughout the week races. You got Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night or Sunday and Wednesday races for the Monster Cup or the Cup, and then you get Xfinity races. The night before you get truck races sprinkled in there. They're kind of keeping it in the Southeast. What do you think about them keeping? There needs to be some drama first and foremost. That's what I'm thinking. But there needs to be a little more excitement and keep that viewership high. What do you think? What do you think the odds of that happening? And what do you think needs to happen? What needs to happen in order for this the viewership to stay high the way it is for the sports that have came back?
Yeah, so with NASCAR in particular, there's been even when they did some good things. They had the iRaces, which kept the hardcore fans engaged, and now with them being one of just a very few sporting events you can watch on TV, I think that they have a really good opportunity to increase their viewership and to get more fans into it. And even with the race Wednesday night, there was some drama with
Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch. Yeah.
And so if they can keep stuff like that going, especially at the end, I think that personally, I think that the format that they have works well. I think it's more interesting. Being a fairly recent NASCAR fan, I like the format with the stages better. And I think that if they would just market the heck out of it right now, they could really do themselves a favor. But yeah, I think that with them being, with their ratings being up, that more people are watching them. So hopefully they can maintain those fans and I don't know, maybe take like I was alluding to earlier, take a little bit of a page from what they've been doing at golf and trying some new stuff to give a little bit of different perspective on the race or what the driver sees or what's going on. I mean, they do a pretty good job of that already, because they were ahead of the curve. Even, it was kind of a big deal with this golf thing and being able to have the earpiece, but they've been able to dial into the drivers for years and be able to talk to the drivers while they're on cautions or on in between stages. So, but yeah, I think that they have a good shot at keeping some high numbers on their viewership, and really hope they do, because I like it, and it's been that is one of the few sports that I've enjoyed watching during this whole thing, because golf's on the weekends, and when the weather's nice, I'm not going to sit inside here in the summer and watch sports, but on a Sunday, I'm much more likely to watch NASCAR in the afternoon and have been doing that. So I think that they have a golden opportunity, and I hope they really take advantage of it.
Yeah, like I said, I really think, and I agree, that's kind of the big thing, is they need to find a way. Something different has to happen, because I will tell you this, I really think, there used to be a time when, and we're talking only, maybe a couple years after the recession there. So we're talking 2012, 2013-ish, that you couldn't, for example, like the Bristol night race, you had to buy tickets for that years in advance. Now you could go on race day, and I guarantee you could just find a ticket at the booth. We're not even talking about scalpers here. We're talking at the booth. There's a lot of empty seats at those stadiums. And I think, we kind of talked about this before, Scotty, but, at MIS, one of our favorite race probably is the truck race, right? Probably the truck race. One, is competitive. Yeah. Two, we're a big fan of keeping them all in packs, which they kind of do. I do like the stages that they implemented. I do like the fact that you're guaranteed at least 2 cautions, right? Because there used to be some races out at MIS where you go 130 laps without a caution. And after a while, you're just like, I'm going to get some food, man. I'm going to go down, take a quick cat nap because, one, you're not going to miss anything at a track like Michigan. It's so wide open. You're not going to see a lot of wrecks. You might see a spin out here or there, but you're not going to see a lot of wrecks. So I find it really, the fans, they just need to figure out something. The stage races are great. Bunch them back up again. You like to see that exciting racing. So, maybe kind of bring down that rules package a little bit on, maybe you can bump draft in the corners a little bit. I do like there does seem to be, I know Darlington is a tough track, but there did seem to be much more contact at Darlington that they were letting them get away with. There wasn't any black flags. There wasn't any pass-throughs. And that was pretty solid. So I did enjoy that. I thought they did a good job. And there were cautions that came out on their own, right? So regardless of the stage points, I know my boy Clint Boyer actually caused one because he blew a tire, of course. Had two stages and then blows a tire and blows it. Unbelievable. Typical Boyer. If Clint's watching tonight, I hope he's not ticked off. But come on, man. And then the Charlotte race, you got Denny Hamlin wins last Wednesday. Comes right back and gets penalized at Charlotte. So too bad Brad had to win on Sunday. But again, I think NASCAR is one of those sports that they can survive this, right? Because they were doing it in iRacing, right? You're doing it in iRacing. You're not racing in front of anyone, in the stands. You're simply racing for people on the TV. And I know a lot of the guys really like that because a lot of them had a beer they could take back. Why they were doing it, the true old school. I know Boyer was for sure, but I'm not sure if that if that was against his contract for his sponsors. But I'm not sure because they were still. Man, they could bring... Well, it was crazy, Scotty, because they were still advertising. They still had their sponsorships on the cars that they were racing in iRacing. So you got to think and advertisements. And you got to keep your stars in the sport. You got to keep you want your stars to stay in the race, right? Kind of the Michael Jordan rule of NASCAR. You want spectators don't come to watch the bottom tier teams duke it out, even though it may be more competitive if that's all you had on the track, right? Was the top or the bottom, like 10 guys that were the only ones left on the track, and they're all kind of bunched together, even at a short track. That'd be kind of interesting. But I just think, as long as they get something, again, get a soap opera going, get some. That's what NASCAR's been missing since pretty much what you figure. Earnhardt and Gordon, right, was probably the last major, and then Kyle Busch against everyone was probably the last one. But ever since Kyle Busch got married and had some little ones, he's kind of mellowed out a little bit. Still kind of a jerk, great driver, but a lot of these guys have kind of matured, and the new generation doesn't really seem to be the, they're all friends. You know what I mean? You got the Chases and the Bowmans and the Bubba Wallaces. They're all just kind of buddies and stuff. So I think that's something that's really going to hurt NASCAR is the fact that they don't have a true rivalry right now. No one to really root for, and no one, there's no Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, Yankees, Red Sox. There's nothing to really say, every race I'm a diehard fan of this guy and I'm a diehard hater of this guy. So speaking of which, Scotty, you are you kind of pulling for Truex this year?
It's kind of funny you mention it. I do kind of like Kyle Busch.
Well, that's all right. That's a good guy to pick.
And really, it comes down to just the fact that I like watching him drive because it's almost like he's never out of a race, and he can weave his way through traffic. And it really came down to that one truck race, was it last year, I think, where he ended up at the back of the pack, and we're like, he can work his way back up front, and just watching him weave through that field was just a thing of beauty, and he almost ended up winning the
remember
race.
We're like, I guarantee 3 laps he's back in the top 5. Sure enough. Was it even 3 laps?
He was right back up.
Was it even 3 laps? Who knows? It was ridiculous. It was kind of what we called, but that was you're absolutely right. And but again, is that good for the sport or is that bad for the sport? He's not. He has some bad luck and he has some bad tracks too, but there just needs to be that's huge. They need to limit the rule package and maybe, I don't know, pay someone. I don't honestly at this point I don't care if it's fake or not. Get some rivalries going out there. Get some fights. again out there. Let that stuff happen. Don't penalize guys. I mean, hell, you can do it in hockey. Let's do it in NASCAR. Once a guy hits the ground, guess what? That's it. The officials can break it up. But other than that, I just wish that it was a little more bitey, a little more not, okay, everyone's friends. No one's going to purposely wreck each other. But it's just amazing the self-control these guys have. Could you imagine being out there in that heat for 600 miles? We're talking 5-6 hours, depending on the cautions, and having just someone bumping you the whole time. And then I mean, it's unbelievable what these guys can do. So, that's good stuff. Scotty, anything else to add to the TV ratings, regardless of NASCAR? What about the TV ratings just in sports in general?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's it kind of reminds me of like when I was a really, really young kid. You only have so many channels on TV, not like you do now, and so you're dividing your audience up by fewer choices, and so when you have that going on, the TV ratings are obviously going to be high. And one interesting thing that I saw today, which would absolutely blow things up for UFC, is I heard a little rumor, and I don't know if they're just trying to drum up some interest or keep relevant, but that Fight Island that they're looking to have, there's a rumor going out there that they're going to have Conor McGregor, and you want to see just monster ratings for a pay-per-view, get Conor McGregor on that Fight Island.
Oh yeah,
and I could just see that being nuts.
Oh, that would be something else. Woo. Yeah, that would be all right. Well, that would be great even no pandemic, right? That'd be pretty interesting. All right. Well, that's good stuff, Scotty. Again, thanks for joining us tonight. We're about on our last topic, a little B&O coming up here. Not sure if you got any questions, but as we go through these, Scotty, obviously you're familiar with the game now. So thanks for joining us tonight on the A to G Show 2.0. Scott Ulibarri from White Lake, Michigan, sitting in for Garrett tonight. Adam Amble coming to you from Castle Rock, Colorado. Sorry, I know it says, again, poor Scotty needs to get some recognition. All his banners still say Garrett. So we'll get you, next time we'll get you changed. We'll get it all changed out. But hopefully G can get, there we go. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And I know you got a Michigan cap, so you'd be good to go. But we're going to rock some B&O now. If you guys don't know what B&O is, it's both, none, or one. Kind of a cool little segment. Basically, you got two options. I got 6 for you tonight, Scotty. So I got 6 for you, right. And you can pick one. You can only pick one of them, like both, so you want to choose wisely, of course, for those of you who don't know the game. But let's get started. The first one is I know you like both of these. So a crotch rocket or a 2-person speedboat?
Boy. Man, I had a lot of fun when I had a crotch rocket. So I'd go crotch rocket.
Yeah, me too. And they're both,
how about you?
They can both be rather deadly, right? But in terms of safety, probably the 2-seater speedboat has a little better safety rating, simply because there's just not as many boats out there and on a lake. Well, I guess you can get to some busy lakes, but obviously you're not gonna be flying across the lake if it's really busy like that. But they both sound awesome. Yep. I know that for a fact. They both sound awesome. And they're both, especially in Michigan, they're both kind of seasonal things. So you'll get your 5-month use out of either of them, right? So you might get a little more of a crotch rocket in Michigan, but I would probably go with a crotch rocket too, simply because there's something to be said about going that fast. Sorry, Mom, if you're still watching, but it's a good time. But what do you got? You got any tonight, Scotty? Or
fishing or golf?
Oh, that's a good one for me. Actually, not a huge fan of either, but I would definitely go with fishing. The only reason I say that is because if you like, golf to me is a very relaxing, and I really just go out there to have a few beers and converse with whoever I'm golfing with, right? Converse with the fellas. And, a lot of times you really can't do that. You're kind of just stuck talking to the person that's in your cart. So I do like the competitive aspect of the golf, but I just think, fishing is cool because you go out with, a couple of the bros, take a cooler beer, go out there, and especially at that, normally you're on if you're fishing, then normally fishing on a boat anyway, you're probably not on a major lake with a bunch of traffic on it. So it's nice and quiet. You're in nature. Golf, of course, is nice. But yeah, I definitely have to go fishing. What about you, Scotty?
I like golf personally, just because I've done it so much more, and it's been at one point in my life, at least a huge part of my life. And I do like fishing, but I'd take golf in this circumstance. And it's funny you mention that. For everyone that doesn't know this, Adam has the really 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 unique. How do I want to put it? He's probably one of the few people in the world that caught a fish on his first ever cast.
Yeah. And yeah, I loved it. Yeah, that's a good story. We'll have to tell us sometime, and how everyone was first year with the boat, right, Scotty, out there on Pleasant Lake, Michigan. And sure enough, it was choppy. It was late. Yeah, this was after Labor Day. This is when we got back from Labor Day. Remember, we went to Grand Rapids that weekend, all of us. And we went out on the boat like that. What was it? That Monday, basically, on Labor Day. And sure enough, everyone's you're never gonna catch one. I was like, I don't really know this, but yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
With a gas station, fishing pole and gas station.
Oh yeah,
lures.
Yeah. There's a good picture of that, so we'll have to bring that up sometime. All right, buddy. But great question. So here's one for you. Are you a turkey or ham guy?
Oh, turkey.
Really?
I like turkey.
Really? So turkey, hands down, not even a thought.
Yeah, and mainly because when I make them, I smoke them, and so I'm a big fan of like a smoked turkey, which I think is just fantastic. And ham is okay. I don't dislike ham, but yeah, I'd take turkey.
Yeah, I would. I'm gonna go with ham, but you can't. It's funny because our family, we have a nice roasted ham on Christmas Day. Ham and raisins, and of course, Mom cooks up some really good stuff. And then, of course, on Thanksgiving she does as well. But Thanksgiving is the turkey, right? So you get the best of both worlds, basically. But for me, a ham, you can't beat a ham sandwich. I could eat one every day. So what do you got next, buddy?
And I like cold turkey sandwiches.
Yeah, cold turkey sandwiches are fantastic the day after or a couple days after Thanksgiving, right? You got that leftover turkey, put some, what was it, like, it's got to be like white bread with mayo on it, and then just slap some turkey on there. Is that your recipe for disaster? Or?
More or less. It's mayo, mustard, lettuce, tomato, white bread.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
And Swiss cheese.
Rocks. Oh, okay. Put a little cheese on there. That's pretty good. Yeah. That's a good call there. Okay, what do you got next there, Scotty?
Let's see. I don't have one queued up. Let me try to think of one if you got another one.
And here we go. Are you okay, so here's one that a lot of people, speaking of Thanksgiving, and they can both be equally just painful, and that is hungry or extremely full. See, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because
I got to do neither on this.
You know how miserable you've been sometimes after being way too full, right? But then, hungry, you're just eking at it, and I've learned your patience absolutely changes, right? Because when you're, when you're hungry, you just really want to get to it, and then when you're just absolutely full, everything just slows down. And of course, you want both times to go quicker, right? When you're hungry, you want to get to that food. When you're absolutely stuffed, guess what? You want that digestive system to start working, right? So get that going. But yeah, for a fact, there's been some times where it's been agonizing, at least for about a half hour. You're trying to clear that room. You're trying to burp, get all that air out of there, clear some space in that stomach, do whatever you can to just make that, I know there's just overeating is a problem, especially on Thanksgiving. So, yeah, what do you think though? I mean, are you?
I think I was gonna do neither, but I think I can handle hunger better. And the only reason I can put to that is because I'll do intermittent fasting like once a week, where I won't eat on, say, a Wednesday or something like that. So I can deal with it. And I found that if I'm working and fasting, I can concentrate more, but by the end of the day, I'm done and I need to eat.
Yep.
Just a matter of outlasting.
Yeah, exactly right. The especially the temptation. But I'm sorry, God, You know what? I'm gonna be. I would rather be too full, I think, but I just get so excited when I'm too hungry. It's kind of you get some endorphins or something because then you get that food and you're like, oh yeah, here we go, it's go time. So yeah, I think I'd rather be too full on that one. So, what do you?
Okay.
Did you think of one, Scotty? Or
I do. Being stuck with this whole coronavirus nonsense and not having the flu, or having the flu for 3 days for real and just getting it over with.
okay, so being exposed, not that nothing to do with the virus, right? It's just getting the. Uh,
Just regular flu. Just getting the regular flu like
yeah.
any other year.
Well,
Or just having 3 days, like 3 days of misery, or all this time we've had to not be sick but be stuck inside.
Well, I haven't had. The problem is, if that was the case, I'd much rather just have the flu for 3 days and get it over with. I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough to never really get the flu, so that's some.
Yeah, I haven't had it in a long time, but it's just every time you get it, it's just so miserable. And it's like I just want to get this over with, and it's 3 days of hell, and then
But yeah, if you were to tell
this
me, guess what,
obviously.
we're not gonna. If they were to say, all right, you either can have the flu for 3 days, or we're gonna shut down everything for a couple months. Oh yeah, the flu for 3 days and not have to go.
Yeah, I take the flu.
It wasn't the problem was it wasn't a huge effect on me. Just the fact that you just couldn't go out and traveling back to see everyone. That's a big one too. But
Yeah.
Jess and I have made some good times with it. You get to watch some shows. I've got to do a lot of research on. I'm doing stuff like this. Getting broadcasting and stuff. I'm actually going to put out. For those who don't know, I'm actually going to do another YouTube channel actually to where it's all about the tech stuff because I got a lot of stuff, a lot of experience now with putting up all this broadcast stuff, and that seems to be a big deal. Hopefully, start to get some monetary value for some of these shows. Not so much the A to G. This is more of a hobby, obviously, on this end, but really getting teaching people how to really to do all this stuff. So because there is a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of options out there. I mean, you can Google anything. I mean, from this, I could teach people about this, even this cable here, this XLR cable, to my microphone, to my boom mount, to my background, to the lighting, to the cameras, to OBS, which is the system that I use to broadcast all of this stuff. All of that stuff is going to be a blast. So it's really that's the sad part. But if you're going to tell me that we could get through all this and not have a detriment to the economy and people losing a lot of their businesses, and to be honest with you, I think we're past there's so many people a lot of health issues and people committing suicide. Because they lost a lot of this stuff. No one ever. I know you're not gonna hear this on mainstream media, but a lot of people don't talk about that, and that's a shame. Because there is a downside to only focusing on the virus, right? Not to get too political or anything, but yeah, that's kind of where mine is. So, are you saying you take the flu over the shutdown, or?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. You know what I would give to just be sick for 3 days and then be able to go to a bar the next weekend?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, especially out there, I totally understand because that's what we did, right? That was, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was it was something to look forward to. You know what I mean? And now, luckily, Scotty, it is, starting to be the summer. Like I said, I was really happy that you guys were able to get the boat out there, and the weather was nice this last weekend because that's our savior almost every year, right? Everyone's like, oh wow, how expensive are the summers? I'm like, actually, we don't spend as much money in the summers because we just go out on the boat. You spend you spend $20 on a 30 rack and some ice, and you're good to go for the day, right? So,
Yep.
So
That's
yeah,
it.
that's a good question. All right, Scott, we got about a minute and a half left, buddy. So I like that one. So here's one for you. Let's see. We got. Are you a fan? Now this doesn't have to be sleeping or when you're awake. Are you a fan of a light room or more of a darker room? Like I would say.
Oh, I got
You
it.
okay? Yep. And I'm the exact opposite. I love like white walls. So I was looking behind you, and I'm like, it's a rather dark wall. But my dad was actually the opposite. My dad was You've been to, the house up in Coleman, and that one was just a brown, wall. You've been to the place in Coleman, yeah.
Oh, huh. Have been.
Oh,
Have
that's
been
right.
home yet.
Yeah, not to the
Not to the
house,
house
but
at least.
yeah, that wall. We used to have like brown carpet too, until we switched that up and put in some white carpet to try to lighten it up a little bit. But it used to be really dark. My dad was really into that. So yeah, it was just a kind of a curious question because I love, even in the mornings, I love kind of the sunrise, like kind of beaming into the room and making me start my day. So yeah, I was just curious. You got time for one more, buddy? So
Yeah, like. Well, I was just going to mention real quick that really bugs me when I go to hotels because hotels are so notoriously bad about being light and if it's dark at night, it's dark in the morning because you have to have all the blinds shut. I do like the situation we have now. We're being out in the country a little bit. It's still pretty dark, but I still get the sun peeking through in the morning, so it's kind of
yeah,
the
and
best of both worlds. But
that's
I
why
have
kind of
to.
when I asked the question, didn't have to be sleeping. It depends on it didn't really depend on what time of day, but there is something to be said. I'm kind of a light always type of guy. I can really sleep decently as long as the lights aren't like flickering or anything like that. You don't have car headlights, flashing in your window when they drive by. Other than that, though, I kind of like a nice glow in the room and stuff. So, you got any more, buddy? We're about at the hour mark. So,
Yeah, I think I've pretty much said my piece. I can't think of any more off the top of my
all right,
head.
buddy. Well, anything to close with?
No, just thanks for having me on again. It's always fun. I enjoy doing it and shooting the breeze with you on what would be a normally ho hum. Was it Tuesday night? I
Yeah, yep,
guess.
exactly. Yeah, well, appreciate.
Oh, wait,
What's that, buddy?
NASCAR tomorrow? Is there NASCAR tomorrow?
Yes, there is. Yep, another race from Charlotte. So,
I'll have to remember that then and actually tune in. It was easy last week because I was on the road, but I'll have
yeah,
to remember to
yeah,
do it
it'll
this
be a
week.
little earlier for you, but no big. Yeah, definitely tune in and tell other people about it too, because make sure you share this too, Scotty, on your old Facebook and
Most certainly.
awesome, buddy. All right, well, from Adam Amble, Scott Uliberry, thanks everyone for tuning in on the A to G Show 2.0. Thanks again. Looks like we're getting back. Trying to get back to a little sense of normalcy here. And we'll get there. We'll get there, folks. Just hang in there. Again, thanks to all the healthcare workers, and thoughts and prayers out to everyone in mid-Michigan. Hopefully everything's getting back to normal, dried out up there. So, Adam Amble, we will see you guys next week.